at 150 in the first half. Key and Grant out there. There's so many Canadian receivers that's making plays around the league, and it's great to see. And Emilus and Schaefer Baker here in Santa. So I just, as a former receiver, I'm just proud of where the receivers are, but the Canadian receivers around the league. We have Clark Barnes as well and Cole Tucker. So it's the receiver spot for Canadians in a safe place.
Well, there's no doubt. And by the way, because you've been working at the grassroots for so long, this probably doesn't really surprise you. I mean, I think if you didn't play with Chris Getzlaff, you would know him well. And Chris always,
Yeah.
He didn't want anybody to talk about him being Canadian. He's like, I'm a receiver, right? But there is that bias in this league. But you've seen these kids coming up. You've been coaching them. So from a grassroots level, A, you wouldn't be surprised. But B, it's got to kind of feel good to be a part of that, I would think.
100%. Just seeing the evolution of, just the Canadian period, just understanding more opportunities that they're getting to go to the U.S. and play football challenge, and just competition makes you better. And it's hard to find a lot of great competition, especially when you're in smaller places, that allows you to really grow as an athlete. You need to play people that are better than you or equal to you to really grow as an athlete. So finding different talent levels that you can go compete against is going to raise all tides, and or all tides raise votes, right? So it's like we want to make sure that we're competing at a high level. Seeing these guys come in the league is just amazing to see. So I'm a big fan. I tell them after the game, man, I get to one of the best seats in the house to watch some of my favorite players play the game, and just understand what I can do as an alumni in this league, but also a huge supporter of the CFL.
Get ready for the Rod Pedersen Show.
Yeah, what a way to start the week. Good clip, guys. I love coming on your show because I can say what I think. Seems elementary, doesn't it? That's what we do here every day, here on Game Plus Television. Glad to have you aboard. And WQEE Radio and streaming, if that's your thing. We're live at the Golden Ticket Sports Center in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan, where I'm spending the summer. And I am glad to be out of the oppressive Florida heat, but I am upset that I'm missing Game 7 tonight. Let's go to Toronto. Moose is there. He's telling me it's a beautiful morning there. Coming up on the program today, SiriusXM NHL Radio Scott Laughlin and Julie Stewart-Binks, our longtime friend, whom I believe is now working for the NHL. I'm not totally sure, but she'll clear it when she joins us in hour 2 live from Sunrise. Moose, are you ready for a big hockey game tonight?
I am absolutely ready for the game of the year. Maybe they're calling it the biggest hockey game ever. But before we get to the air, if I can have a minute, the weekend.
Sure.
You have said on this show, I've never had to do this, but I need to issue an apology today on the air. So we're downtown on the weekend. Downtown Toronto, and I'm out for a drive. And I was going to make a right-hand turn. We don't spend a lot of time driving downtown, and the bike lanes are new for me, right? The bike lanes. And I was about to turn right when in the rearview mirror, I noticed a cyclist coming right by, hit the brakes, narrowly avoided hitting him. He turned, waved at me, said thank you. It was Arnold Schwarzenegger. Who I almost hit with my bike. So apologies for giving Arnold a heart attack in Toronto this weekend. It was a near-death experience. I thought I was going to end up in the news.
Did you apologize to him at the time? Do we know he's watching today? Did you miss the opportunity to do it Saturday?
The window was down. I said, sorry, Arnold. And he kept going on his way and looked as regal as ever biking downtown Toronto on the weekend.
Okay, fair. Oh, no. We'll have to check his social media and see for sure that he was there. But I believe you, the former governor of California. Can you hit the quick six show horn, please? Director Jordan, who's
Bob's
who's
about.
back in the director's chair today. The Stanley Cup will be presented in Sunrise, Florida tonight. The Edmonton Oilers, who have rallied from down 3-0 in the best-of-7 NHL championship against the Panthers, forcing in Game 7 tonight, will be aiming to win their first Stanley Cup since 1990. The Panthers have never won it. Dude, everybody has an opinion. Our good guy, Jersey Jim, is there in Sunrise. He's sending me reports. Serena's going to the game. She's like a cat on a hot tin roof. She'll be sitting in the crowd tonight cheering for the Oilers with our good friend Thad, who's cheering for the Panthers. This is an historic night. And as Jersey Jim said to me, history's made either way, no matter who wins. Oh, my God. And I don't particularly have I don't have strong feelings like those that do. I'm cheering for the Panthers. I've said that. I don't have any kind of gut feeling one way or the other how this is going to go. I don't. I know we'll be hunkering down in front of the television. I'm not going out to a watch party. I'm not going anywhere. Going to watch every shift of this game, and I'm very excited for it. Now, you said, this is interesting, you said the biggest hockey game ever, whereas our poll question here is this the biggest game in NHL history? Not hockey history, NHL history, because I think people need to realize there is a difference. There's Olympic gold medal games. There's Summit Series games, right? You understand. You said the biggest game ever. And I will right now say it's not the biggest game ever, but I'll say, yeah, it's the biggest NHL game ever. The ratings will dictate that tonight. But, Darren, the only person who's come back at me and said it's not, said, no, 2001 was Devils, Avalanche, Brodeur versus Roy, blah, blah, blah. I don't know that there's a correct answer to this, but with the Oilers being a Canadian team, and the Panthers, with what they're doing, I guess, representing the Sun Belt right now, to me, I'll say, yeah, it's the biggest game in NHL history, but not hockey history. How about you?
You got a yes from me. I think it is. I mean, look, none of us were alive when the Toronto Maple Leafs came back from down 3-0 in 1942. Us. There are people on this earth who were alive, but not a lot of them. You know, that's a long time ago. My parents weren't alive when this happened in 1942. But, you know, it is very big. I think it's bigger than that 0-1 game. Yes, there was big-time stars in that game. But you're talking about, you know, Canada versus the U.S. You're talking about a franchise in Florida who hasn't won yet. They're about to potentially blow the 3-0 lead, which won't sit with them. That will suck. You're talking about the best player in the game, cementing his legacy as a top player of all time in Connor McDavid with one of the all-time playoff performances. Yeah, this is going to be enshrined in the Hockey Hall of Fame. We're going to watch, you know, E60s on this, 30 for 30s on this playoffs for years and years and years.
I think we're kind of setting the stage very well for tonight's game, 8 p.m. Eastern, 6 o'clock Mountain. And I checked my phone this morning. I kind of chuckled because I'm like, the top 10 messages were all from my friends in Florida. And then a couple from Canadian people. I'm like, oh, I guess I know where my home is now, right? Everybody's just jacked up about that game. And I will just say this. Another thing, when you talk about the Leafs and nobody was alive in the 40s, or I know what you mean. Serena and I, we host the Cats and Bolts podcast where we cover the Panthers and the Lightning. We did an Instagram Live last night. I'm not sure if you saw. And we talked about those 1940s teams. The 1945 Leafs did exactly what the Panthers are trying to do here. Went up 3-0 and then had to hang on and win in Game 7. The 1942 Leafs blew it. The Detroit Red Wings in 42 blew it to the Leafs. And some guy wrote in and goes, we don't care what happened before the 1970s in the NHL. If that just gives you a little bit of an idea of the difference in the fan bases. Like, we read that, and you should have seen Serena's face. And we were like, then you're watching the wrong show. Because we care. Because it's what built the league, right? So, anyway, but tonight is one of those pillars that will be remembered in NHL history and sports history forever. And one more thing. Dude, I could go on for 2 hours talking about this. Believe me, I could. But the media asked Paul Maurice yesterday, I don't know what the exact question was. It was along the lines of, what's your legacy going to be, win or lose? Sort of like, you're going to go down as the guy that blew it if you lose. And Pomo goes, I'll address that after the game. I'll tell you when it's over, I think was the quote. Because you don't want to put in your head what happens if we lose. And I don't think you want to get ahead of yourself anymore because they've done that already. What are we going to do when we win? Let's go play the game. But the Panthers are sitting on history. That's what I'm sitting here going, win or lose. I've looked at it from the Panthers' perspective. I haven't looked at it from the Oilers' perspective. I'm sure Serena has. If they lose, then she hasn't thought that, believe me. Because I said, is this the biggest game ever? And she's like, who cares? Well, there is that way of looking at it. It's all about one game. Who cares the historical perspective? But if they lose, I would think for the Oilers, hey, we got this far with Connor. Leon's going to re-sign because where's he going to go? Do you know if they, from the Oilers' perspective, win or lose, how do you think it would go over?
Yeah, I think the Oilers are in a great spot, and I think their fans are in a great spot.
Yeah.
It'll really suck if they lose, but if they lose, there are so many, and I don't really love, pulling out moral victories, but there are just so many of them for the Edmonton Oilers. The way they battled back, the way they came back, they can be very proud, even if they don't win this game. If they do, this team is going to be in hockey history forever. Like it is just, they are just there forever and ever and ever. And these players will be legends of the game. And, if they don't win, everybody's going to be excited because they're on the cusp. They've got a young core. They're going to be back here next year. If they win, we're talking about, man, they could put 2 or 3 together in a row. So there's a lot of positives here for the Edmonton Oilers, win or lose.
Yeah, well, yes, but not for the Panthers. And I've had a lot of people say to me, what will the fan base do in Florida if the Panthers lose? I said, they'll turn on them. And we discussed that on that podcast, too. On whatever that means to you, turning on them, whatever the definition of that is to you. Like, I think they'll say, we're the Bills of the NHL. They suck. Fire Maurice. That's already being said. And they haven't even played the game yet. And Serena's like, I don't think it'll be that bad. But they won't renew their season tickets, and the rink will go back to being empty. I'm like, well, that's turning on them, too. The Oilers are going to be full at Rexall Place or Rogers Place forever. Always have been, always will be, which is kind of what you're saying. Florida's not in the same boat. So, I mean, these are literally 2 different worlds, man. From alligators and dolphins and palm trees and ocean to pump jacks and grassy fields and deer. Like, it couldn't be any more different. Yeah.
It couldn't be. And when you think about that and the pressure we talked about, I got to look at this. And if you're the Panthers, you're playing with a 25-pound lead vest on your back. You really are.
I think
all
so.
That pressure. Edmonton's free. Edmonton's playing free and easy with nothing to lose, right? And you're seeing that in the play on the ice. They've cleaned up mistakes. They're battling. They're not afraid of making mistakes. And we talk about gripping the stick tight. That's been a problem for Florida because of that afraid to lose. All the ramifications that happen if you lose the hockey game. This might be their last crack at it. They might not be back here next year, where the Oilers look like they could be back here for the next 2 or 3 years.
Well, and by the way, we might spend the whole opening segment on Game 7 tonight, and then the next segment will be on the CFL because that's what we do here, hockey and football primarily. But I was thinking about this morning. I used to say when I was broadcasting really big games in hockey and football, I'm glad I'm not playing because when I was playing, it's one of the reasons I didn't go further than I did, aside from a lack of talent. But I was a head case. I couldn't handle the nerves. I made the moment too big, and it's taken. Thanks, Joe. It's taken me years of coaching and therapy and counseling to not get too rattled by not get overwhelmed. You know what I mean? And I couldn't do it. Whereas you see Kachuk saying he's only 25. He's like, it doesn't matter how we got here. And I think he's right. Bill Lindsay, our good friend, the color guy for the Panthers, saying on Twitter, he goes, it doesn't matter how you got here. They're all saying that. It's one thing to say it, but do you believe it? I used to often say Grey Cups, Memorial Cups, World Juniors, all these things that I broadcast. Oh, I'm glad I'm not playing. And I know there's a lot of people sitting at home going, I wish I was playing. Not me. This is nerves central. Or for a guy that can't handle it. That's the other thing, Darren, is it going to be up to the coaches to make this moment not too big? Or do the players have to do it on their own? Or probably a combo of both.
I don't think there's a situation in the locker room or on the coaching staff, managerial, or in that room where you minimize the moment. I don't think Game 7 is about minimizing the moment. I think it's about rising to the moment. And just because it's game 7, I think games, 4, 5, 6, you needed to minimize the moment. You know what? We're just out here to win another game, but it's game 7. I think game 7 just has too much. It's too big that you just can't minimize that. You have to rise to the moment. We'll see who rises to the moment tonight.
Sure. Well, this is why we all sit here in our roles in sports. It's why I'm not a player. It's why I'm not a coach. I'm a broadcaster, and I do that pretty well. But I'm not going to try and put myself in their skates or on the bench like Paul Maurice, because it reminds me of this. And this came up to me this morning as I was getting ready to come down here and do the show. Ken Austin, 2007 season. And we're talking about going back 20 years now. He's currently the offensive coordinator at Auburn. College football in the SEC, but he was our head coach in Saskatchewan, and you've heard me tell this story, I think, at banquets. He should be in the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. He's not for whatever, stupid political reasons. But all year long that year, I was the voice of the team. The first game we played in Montreal, the pregame show, I said, Kent, what does this game mean to you? You're back coaching the team you used to play for and won a Grey Cup with them. He's like, is the moment too big for you tonight? And he's like, Rod, it's just a football game. Labor Day Classic against Winnipeg. Say, Kent, what about coaching your first Labor Day Classic against Winnipeg Blue Bombers? What's the significance? It's just another game, Rod. If you knew Kent, that's how we talked. And then we are hosting Calgary in the 2007 Western semifinal. We hadn't hosted a playoff game in 23 years. Ken Austin, you're the head coach. You've led this team to the first home game in 23 years. What's that mean to you? Rod, it's just another game. We can't let the moment get too big. Blah, 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 blah. Oh, okay. So then we get to Skydome in the Grey Cup, and we're playing Winnipeg in Toronto in the 2007 Grey Cup. I think it was the 89th Grey Cup. And I said to Kent, let me guess, Kent, it's the Grey Cup, but it's just another game. And he's like, no, Rod, it's a championship. We count these. No, it's not just another game. But you know what? That's Kent. You never knew. You never knew what you were going to get. So, again, great analysis by you. It's about rising to the moment. It's not minimizing. I know for me, if I was playing in goal tonight, I would have to just realize, I would have to say this is no bigger. Every shot, it doesn't matter that it's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup or it's the first day of training camp. Well, you just got to stop the puck. That's what I would say now to myself, which is another thing. That, if Bob puts up the plywood tonight, it could be that simple. If it comes down to goaltending, I still got my money on the Panthers. And I don't know how this is going to go. I'm cheering for the Panthers, so I'll say they'll win. Who do you think will win?
I think the Oilers win tonight. That's from my gut. So I'll go Oilers.
Yeah, I just have no idea. I did open up my Facebook and saw 1,111 people liked your post in the official Panthers. I'm like, God, the Panthers got this. But then on the flip side, my analysis is that they were up 3-0, took their eye off the ball, were planning the Stanley Cup parade, and then let the Oilers off the mat. And I don't know that you can stop that train. I literally have no idea. So I'm saying 50-50. I got no clue. A lot of football when we come back, okay? For the CFL fans, hang on. We will be right back. We are live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/8
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Events.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Hey, honey, can you get one of the kids to show me how this Twitter thing works? Honey, I need to get on Instagram. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Daytime Sports Talk continues here on the Game Plus television network and on the radio in Atlanta, WQEE, where we are Atlanta's NHL show. By the way, just a couple sponsor mentions. Elevate your game at Golden Ticket Sports Center here in Moose Jaw, where passion meets performance. Check out our website at goldenticketsportscenter.com. It's our home for the summer. And don't forget to sign up for movies for free. Get more of what you love at Landmark Extras. It's their rewards program. We've had a wonderful years-long partnership with Landmark Cinemas. Go to their website at landmarkcinemas.com. And to be honest, bad boys, ride or die, I'm going to go to it again. Maybe not necessarily this week, but I'm going to go to it again because I enjoyed it so much. Plus, I love going to the movies. Okay, Moose, come on in. I'm going to dip into the comments before we go too much further. Yeah, what do you got? What do you got?
I went to Bad Boys last night. We can finally talk about
What'd you think? What'd you think?
Hilarious. Might have been my favorite Bad Boys yet. As you said, Martin Lawrence has some great one-liners in there. And the one I remember from the beginning, the guy comes in, security footage is down for a 2-block radius. And he looks at Will Smith and says, well, look at that. Your panic attack won't be caught on camera.
How about that?
Dying.
Yeah, I had some problems with some of the lines of the movie. Like they said, it's a bad thing to admit to having a panic attack. Look, it happens, okay? Let's learn how to deal with them instead of making fun of people that have them. That's one, but you nasty. You nasty. I love Martin Lawrence so much. Reg in Winnipeg says, who is banging the pregame drum tonight? One of the Golden Girls? One of the Seinfelds? I've said I'd like to see it be one of two guys, The Rock or Randy Moulder. The Rock is like the sports legendary figure in South Florida, but Randy's also the longest-serving, hardest-luck face of the franchise. So one of those two would be great. A lot of people have talked about the Golden Girls. Unfortunately, they're all dead. I've looked it up. They're all dead.
Oh,
so they're not going to, unfortunately, they're not going to be able to be banging the drum. Dipping into the comments, Rob Swallow writes in, he says, oh, baby, Game 7. Both teams have the opportunity to embrace the moment. Would love to see the first overtime game of the series. Wouldn't that be something? And a segue, well, a couple things. A quick, Junior in Winnipeg writes in, this is a good one. Junior says, hi, Rod. Great TV sports show you got here, as usual. He says, off to the Bombers game. This was from Friday. He goes, God, I hope they turn it around. And he says, CEBL basketball is entertaining. Saw the game on Wednesday against BC Bandits. Go Bombers, go Panthers. You have to understand. That's the one thing the Panthers don't understand. They thought it was them against the world, that all of Canada would be cheering for the Oilers. I'm like, no, boys. You got a lot of fans in Canada, too. If you want to rally behind that and make that something to play for, fine. But no, you're not hated by all of Canada. Buffalo Bill writes in on the 902-518-3033 text line. He says, greetings and hallucinations from breezy Crosby Country Club. Rod, were you able to provide no Levi, Michelle grief coaching after the Riders win? No. But I do love the Bo Levi Michelle name. Well, let's get to it, Moose. The Week 3 wrap in the Canadian Football League. I know, right? I can't. Despite losing quarterback Trevor Harris to an injury, the Saskatchewan Roughriders improved to 3-0 with a convincing 36-20 victory over the Hamilton Tiger Cats on Sunday. Harris was injured late in the second quarter when tackled by Ticats defensive lineman Nick Usher and did not return to the playing field. The Riders stuck with backup Shea Pedersen for the remainder of the game, and the Riders went to 3-0, beating the Ticats 36-20, Hamilton 0-3. So for all the CFL fans, let me just say this. There's fans from just about every team writing me, asking my opinion on their teams. I can't give you all of them. I'll get to as many as we can here. And I got the scores. We talked about Montreal whipping Ottawa 47-21. BC topping Winnipeg Friday night in Winnipeg 26-24. Saturday, the Argos outlasting Edmonton 39-36 on a last-second field goal. And did Liram Hairolahu kick that for the Argos? Is he back in Toronto? I don't know, because I was broadcasting baseball.
Correct.
I watched he is? Okay. I watched every single snap of the Riders and the Ticats, but not a lot of other games. I hope people are starting to realize this. When I've said, when you're working in sports, you don't get to watch much sports. So that's why for the last 5-6 years we've been doing this, I haven't wanted to do the play-by-play gigs because it would hurt this show. We had a 4-game homestand last week with the Moose Jaw Millers. I broadcast every game. I missed all the action. Didn't even get to watch Game 6 of the Stanley Cup. But we had an off day Sunday, so I was able to watch every single snap of the Riders and Ticats, and we're off tonight, so I can watch Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. So back to this. Let's start with the Riders and work it back. Do you have the graphic of the picks, Clark? It's in the group thing. Let's just say I went 3-1 last week. You try to sneak it by me, Moose. I went 3-1. You went 2-2. So I'm leading 7-5, I think, in my picks through 3 weeks. You're 6-6. We have that right?
I believe that's right. Yeah, I wasn't sure I couldn't remember on that Argos Edmonton game. I think was the one that there was the.
We both had the Argos. I said I'm not picking Edmonton. There it is. So last week I was 3-1, and the Moose 2-2. And at the end of the season, we'll have some sort of prize. And I can go on about Canadian restaurants, and I will, but not here. And by the way, Scott Laughlin coming up from SiriusXM NHL Radio to preview Game 7 tonight, and Julie Stewart-Binks in hour 2. I digress. The Rough Riders kicked the snot out of the Ticats on Sunday. I said they were going to win, and they did. The Ticats fumbled the opening kickoff. We're down 7-0 less than a minute later, and they never challenged the whole game. So bravo, Saskatchewan, to the Rough Riders. You understand, you know this, Darren, as well as anybody, they do need to find something to bitch about. So the team's 3-0. They're complaining about the attendance. It was the lowest home opener since 2006. I'll have thoughts on that later in the week, but not here today. Whatever. I'm going to choose to say, hey, the Riders looked fantastic. And they do. I'm sure you would agree. Their defense was ferocious. I think the turnovers finished 5-1 in favor of Saskatchewan, and they're 3-0. Bo Levi, it wasn't his fault. All of those picks were tipped. He didn't fumble the kickoff. Whatever. They're 0-3. So we can sit here. I will say this. Jim Barker at least admitted on Friday that the football people and the hardcore fans get way too overreactive at this time of year. So don't get literally too upset and don't get too elated until at least the opening third is done. That's what I will say. But I had a Lions fan write me and say, what do you think of the Lions? I'm like, I didn't watch the game. I have no comment on the BC Lions right now. I'm sorry. I don't. What are they, 2-1? I have them picked to go to the Grey Cup, so let's just wait and see how it settles down. The Blue Bombers, I went and read the quotes. Mike O'Shea was asked about a silver lining that they played great and it was their best game of the year. And O'Shea was like, silver linings? This is pro football. He's like, there was some encouraging things at the end, but no, we're not happy with the fact that we're 0-3. Zach Caleros, the quarterback, said he's having a tough time getting his head around the fact they're 0-3. So there's all of that. And I don't know, you said you watched bits and pieces, but it was up against the hockey game. So I get that. You were watching the hockey game. I think most of Canada was. And then Edmonton, I had a football guy in the States text me. He goes, I'll bet you Edmonton makes the playoffs. I said, I'll take that bet because they're just flat out bad. They're 0-3, and I'm not going to sit here and think. I'm not going to pick Edmonton on a weekly basis, hoping this is the week because they can't get their act together. So that's my wrap on week 3. What's yours?
Yeah, I think the CFL is in an interesting spot. I think, I come out of week 3 feeling pretty good across the board, actually. And I tend to go that way anyways. But I'm like, whatever team you cheer for, I think there's reasons to feel good. I mean, for Winnipeg, Mike O'Shea is right. This is pro football. You count wins. 0-3 is not acceptable. But if you're a Bomber fan, you're still encouraged. You're sitting there being like, this team is still good. We're competing. Things aren't going our way, but we'll get this sorted out. So it's not time to panic in Winnipeg yet. It's way too early. In Edmonton, you pushed Toronto right to the brink and had a good chance to win that game. A ton of encouraging things coming out of Edmonton. So, last year we sat here with Edmonton, Ottawa, some teams that were struggling, and you thought, man, there's no hope here. There was no sunlight coming through anywhere. There's a lot of sunlight in Edmonton because there's a lot of process there. McLeod, Bethel, Thompson, you look at his line. What did he throw? 4 touchdown passes, no interceptions. He threw like almost 400 yards passing. He was really good. You can win football games with numbers like that. Even in Hamilton, where they did not play very well in week 3 to win that football game, really got beat by Saskatchewan. There's been some encouraging things. I thought for the course of, 2 weeks, and maybe not so much this week, but Bose look pretty good. There's been some things in Hamilton that have been, pretty encouraging. They'll find a way out of it. But you mentioned BC, and I said a week or two ago that I really liked that receiver Alex Hollins and how great he had played to start the year. He showed up with over 200 yards in week 3, so continues to be really good. That might be a really new emerging QB receiver tandem in VA and Alex Hollins that I'm really excited about coming out of week 3. I really am.
Rob Campbell in Vegas. Hang on, I got an answer to your question here. But just with Hall, I couldn't figure out who would be the quarterback for BC that would make this feared tandem with VA. Because our poll question on Friday, for those that weren't paying attention or watching, who's the most feared quarterback receiver tandem in the CFL? Because all-time history, NFL, is it not still Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison? I think they're still all-time the most feared duo, Peyton Manning, Marvin Harrison. In the CFL right now, the options were Montreal's Anthony Calvillo. What decade is it, Rod? Cody Fajardo and Philpott, Tyson Philpott, not his twin brother. Philpott and Fajardo in Montreal, Caleros and Schoen in Winnipeg, Trevor Harris and Sean Bain in Saskatchewan, or other. And we couldn't come up with any. And I think Jim Barker was the guy that said, Vernon Adams and Alexander Hollins. I'm like, well, I don't know enough about this Hollins guy. And then he goes out and throws up 215 yards, as you said, Friday night for the Lions in the win at Winnipeg. So that's a feared tandem right there, clearly. And VA is referring to himself now as Batman. Is that new? I feel like that's new. Vernon Adams is referring to himself as Batman.
It might be new, but hey,
okay.
If the shoe fits.
He strikes me as more of a Spider-Man, but if he says Batman, who am I to say? But Rob in Vegas says, Rod and Darren, at what point can a football team blame losses on mounting injuries? I'm asking for a Bomber fan. Well, it depends. Here's the thing in Winnipeg. Who are you going to... You're going to Wade Miller's office today and say, Wade, you know, we're 0-3 because we've got injuries. Wade will be, well, how come you don't have competent backups? Where's the scouting? You can't pull that on Wade. So if that's what you want to tell your friends, if you want to tell the girls you go with, Rob, that's injuries are why you're 0-3. You go ahead. But those that know won't allow it. So we'll continue with more as the program goes along today. This is the warm-up. We've been stuck on two topics. Game 7 and CFL Week 3. Let me just throw this in there. Stephen Kwan, point 3. Stephen Kwan and Josh Naylor of Mississauga hit solo homers as Cleveland scored 5 straight runs in the 3rd and 4th innings, helping the AL Central leading Guardians edge the visiting Toronto Blue Jays 6-5 on Sunday. Jays have lost 6 in a row. They're at the Red Sox tonight. We're not paying attention to them anymore. At least I'm not. WCBL yesterday, the Regina Red Sox won their 11th in a row, beating my Moose John Millers 6-5 at Curry Field. Sylvan Lake over Medicine Hat 10-3. Okotoks over Fort McMurray 8-7. Brooks over Weyburn 20-12. Swift Current over Edmonton 8-6. We got more to get to. Golf, more NHL, all the rest when Moose returns next hour. But Scott Laughlin's in next from SiriusXM NHL Radio. Smoke him if you got him, Moose. He gone. We'll be right back to Golden Ticket right after this. We're live on the Game Plus Television Network, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
Does this look familiar? Your fans deserve an incredible arena experience. It's time for an upgrade. Stunning graphics. Revenue opportunities are just the beginning with our in-venue display systems and scoring technology. Let us help you find the best solution for your facility. EDG, always delivering the best fan experience.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the house.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Mandy. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Hour 2 of your favorite daytime sports talk show. Pleased to have you aboard here on Game Plus Television, if that's your thing. If you're watching live on Game Plus, maybe you're listening on the radio, WQEE in Atlanta, where we are Atlanta's NHL show. Or maybe you're streaming, podcast, whatever it is, listening to us later. Thanks for making us part of your day. This historic day. Please bring in Darren Moose Dupont. He is in Toronto. He'll be hunkered down tonight. He's able to stay up far later than me. I went to bed right after the football game yesterday, Moose. That was 8:15 Mountain. And just so you know, I went to sleep right away and slept 9 hours. That was after the Saskatchewan game yesterday. And I was okay with it. Woke up to a beautiful day today. This today, one of the most historic days in National Hockey League history. Tonight, Game 7, Edmonton Oilers at the Florida Panthers. We've got CFL stuff to get to, some baseball stuff to get to, but I'm not done talking about Game 7 tonight. Everybody's got to take. I'm not sitting here stomach in knots, but I will say this, Darren. Wilf writes in from Steinbach, Manitoba. And by the way, I'm pulling for the Panthers, and for that reason, I think they'll win. And for three other reasons, I think they'll win. Darren's pulling for the Oilers and thinks the Oilers will win. Wilf in Steinbach, Manitoba writes in, he says, hi, Rod and Moose. I hope the Oilers can pull it off. As much as I like Paul Maurice, I have to hope the cup comes back to Canada. Well, look, I'll be a Canadian citizen for the rest of my life. You don't ever lose that, even though I have paperwork in America and Florida. So I'll be happy too. But could I say this? I brought this up on the Cats and Bolts IG Live I did last night with Serena. I said, what are you going to say if the Oilers win this thing about the Bettman curse? Because she's gone on record as saying Bettman hates Canada. He's anti-Canada, anti the 7 Canadian NHL teams. I said, what are you going to say then, Serena? And everybody else that thinks Bettman's against Canada, what are you going to say if the Oilers win tonight? And by the way, her answer was, I don't want to talk about that. She didn't want to jinx. Oh, okay. Because I'm the one. I've said it so many times. I'm going to be dead and gone, pushing up daisies, as they say, when y'all realize I was right about just about everything. And it'd be too late to apologize then. I don't think Gary Bettman's against Canada. I thought he was in the 90s, and you know what? I'm pretty sure he was. But then he realized Canada butters the NHL's bread, especially with the big TV deal lately with Sportsnet. He's not against Canada. So, Darren, what are you all going to say then if you actually believe Bettman's against Canada? Because I never thought he was, or at least not for the last 25 years. Truth.
Yeah, it'll be really good for Canada to have the cup back here. And, you know, let's call it, we're going to restore the balance of power in the National Hockey League, where it belongs in Canada, where the cup should be, you know, and that's great. And then ideally, if I can draw stuff up in the stars, ideally we'll just spend the next, number of years passing the cup from Edmonton to Vancouver to Calgary to Winnipeg to Montreal, Ottawa, Toronto, down the line. And we'll just keep it here for all of eternity. That would be ideal. I don't think that's happening. This could be the start of something.
Yeah. You're really pandering to the Canadian audience, and that's totally fine. But again, I live in Florida. I've said it. I want to see what a Stanley Cup will do for hockey in South Florida. I'm all in, which is, by the way, it's a great segue. And trust me, I will get to the viewer comments in a second. Serena's going to the game tonight with our good friend Thad from the Beach House. She's going to be in Oilers gear. He'll be in Panthers gear. This is just, I guess maybe I'm making a big deal of it because it's an emotional night for us and our friends and all the rest. But the Panthers have been so good. And, you know, I said at the end of last hour, I made the decision that I'm going to stop doing what I think I should do and do what I want to do for the first time probably in my life. And that includes this Saturday night. I'm not going to go to Winnipeg at Calgary at McMahon Stadium. The last couple of years I've gone. I really tried to get things going. I'm not joking in Calgary CFL-wise, and people just weren't having it. Maybe they don't like me. Maybe they're just not into the Stamps. I don't know. But what I really want to do is go to Saskatoon to the Rattlers game. Plus, they sponsor this show. I might. That helps. But they got the Niagara River Lions there. But pointing this all up, the biggest reason, if anybody wants to know, and people are asking me, so I'm assuming you do, why am I in Canada and Moose Jaw for the summer? When we got into the Stanley Cup playoffs, although we went to all the games last year, Serena and I both, the Panthers came back this year and said, look, the Heat have lost out in the NBA playoffs. All the media now wants to come to the games. This is CBS, Miami, NBC, Fox, all the newspapers. They're like, we don't have room for you guys. So what we're going to do is we'll give you access to all our videos, all our photos, whatever you want. Come to all our news conferences, but we don't have a spot for you in the press box. And I'm like, you know what? That's fine. That's totally cool. I'm not upset, but I'm going to go to Canada because it's too damn hot and there's nothing else for me to do here if I'm not going to the hockey games. So that's why I'm here, right? I didn't think the Panthers were going to go to the Stanley Cup. I had Carolina, what I have, Dallas, Carolina in the Stanley Cup, and that didn't happen. I didn't think they'd get this far. So now I'm sitting up here in Canada calling these games and just loving the weather, which is another, I'm loving the weather, Darren. You don't understand. You get it because you're a lifelong Canadian. You can sit there in the summer with your window open and sleep like a baby with that cool breeze, right? In Florida, you'd die. You would honestly die. I read a thing this morning in the USA Today. In Baltimore, that's not even the U.S. South, health officials and government officials are telling people, get to air conditioning or you will die. You could die. That's how hot it is down there. I said to Serena, nobody's talking about it on TSN. Like the reporters, did you see the guys on the beach today? I think it was Rashog, James Duthie, Frankie Corrado. They got shades on. You have to or you'd go blind. Nobody's talking about it, but it's whatever. I'm happy to be here, but that's why I'm not at the Stanley Cup playoffs final. They didn't have room for us, and I didn't think they'd get this far. So anyways, that's kind of all I have on this. Mandy in Edmonton writes in and she says, once the NHL is complete and everyone recovers, we can turn our attention to football, I figure. We largely will, but again, the NHL draft is this weekend, and then free agency, so it's not slowing down for them, and we are a hockey and football show. Now, people wrote in about the Argos' attendance, and I said it was pathetic for the Argos in Edmonton the other day. So we can talk about that. We did a whole week 3 wrap, a whole segment on the CFL last hour, and there's something I want to get off my chest here today. But Mandy also writes in, she's in Edmonton, and she says the stands all looked so empty this weekend. That's her comment. It was the lowest attended home opener in Saskatchewan since 2006. And you can blame the 5 p.m. Sunday start. You can blame whatever the hell you want. It's excuses. I've lived here my whole life. I sit there and look at Edmonton, and the ring's jammed at $5,000 a ticket. They don't care. They could have started the games at midnight, the orders, and it would be full. So don't talk to me about you get it, Darren. And I think the one thing that really upsets me is now the WCBL's paying me, the CEBL's paying us, and I'm a hockey fan, so that's the focus of this show. For the CFL, I'm ticked off, and Clark, he said, say it on the air. No, I'm not telling tales out of school, but I'm going to say it on the air. 20 years ago and before, the CFL had as big a profile in this country as the NHL. And don't tell me I'm lying, because you all know I'm right. The ratings showed it on TV. The stadiums were full. The ticket sales showed it. The revenues were the same. And how they've allowed it to be neglected and mismanaged to where it is now makes me want to puke. It's a secondary league, as a good friend of mine referred to it the other day. A guy from here. Secondary league, like the CFL. I'm like, oh, my God. How do you explain lowest home opener since 2006 in Saskatchewan? Well, I can, because the fans have been neglected, but do I say it and I'm a jerk? It's a fact. Toronto, I don't know what the hell's gone on there. And now, Mandy says the stands are empty. Well, they weren't. They were sold out in Montreal. I got to think Winnipeg was over 30,000. I didn't see that game because I was watching broadcasting baseball. But anyways, it ticks me off, and I told you I was going to get to I wanted your opinion on the commissioner fining the kickers for complaining about the microchip footballs, which we will get to. But it's been one PR nightmare after another, and it's just been Bush League. The stat fiasco, I'm sorry, I gotta say it, man. They got themselves to blame for where they are, and that not as many people are paying attention to this league anymore. And I don't see any effort really to turn that around other than putting the games on CTV beginning in September. That'll help, but I wonder if it's too late, Darren. I'll take a breath while you respond to all that.
Yeah, it is tough because you got a team, and let's start with Saskatchewan. You're 2-0 and lowest home opener attendance since 2006. I don't really attribute that to, the team this year being in a bad spot or not captivating the fans. I think that's coming. But two games isn't enough to drive people to change plans, buy tickets, all the rest. You're seeing this a result of years past, right? And performance of years past. So they have an opportunity to turn these wins and this new, let's call it new culture, new identity, this new team on the field, new coach, into greater attendance moving forward. We'll see if that happens. That's just opportunity, or a word that you don't really like, potential, right? It's there if they do the work and engage the fan base now when you have a good team on the field. Edmonton, same thing. Got to start winning some games, but then you got to get people back in the stands. Montreal's done it. Won games, won a Grey Cup, worked hard. Now they've got fans in the stands, right? Obviously, Winnipeg has done that really well. BC, great example. You've got a great start to the season. First 3 weeks are awesome. I think there's a ton of positivity in the league around the play on the field. The quarterback play is really good at a high level. You're going to see a lot of great stats and a lot of great performances. This all needs to trend upwards, and the business decisions need to match so that when these games come on CTV in September, the ratings are great, attendance is matching, all the rest. But all that is potential. And how do you make potential mean something? Put in the work to make sure that you actually have action so the results are there. But we'll see.
they've neglected their own product in certain markets. And the point is, in BC, they did it forever, but now they sell the team, and look what's going on there because they're putting in the work. I don't see the Stamps putting in the work. I know the Riders aren't because I'm here. And the Argos, they have put in the work. It's tough for them. I know that it's a tough market for them, but I don't think it's impossible. Patrolman Pete in Winnipeg with a good question. Well, there's a lot of good questions here. He says, what did Tampa Bay's Stanley Cups do for hockey in Central Florida? Sold some season tickets, but beyond that, bro, the Tampa Bay Lightning sell out every game. Tampa Bay is a hockey town. And I know that because I went to Lightning games that were hosting the Panthers this year, multiple games with Panthers fans, and we drove in there and we're like, ooh. Sunrise has a long ways to go. South Florida's got a long ways to go to catch up to Tampa. Tampa's a hockey town. And by the way, they've been sold out every game for 5, 6, 7 years, even before their back-to-back Stanley Cups. So that's what it's done. Nelson actually has a couple good points on all of this, but Nelson, our VP of Sim Event, says a team, let alone a cup in Vegas, has caused a boom in hockey in Vegas. A cup in Florida is going to be a dream for the NHL and a frustration for existing fans when the popularity boom hits. That's already happening because they're charging so much money for tickets. You had our friend Brent from Wellington write in the other day and go, the Panthers were the last affordable team in South Florida. Morning, guys. Last affordable team in South Florida. I'm like, well, no, the Marlins are. And he's like, oh, yeah, I forgot we have a baseball. But that's what it's going to be. I'm going to be in Florida. I'm not going to be in Edmonton. That's why I want a Stanley Cup to be in South Florida. That's where I'm going to be. There's a lot of opportunity for me there. There's none for me in Edmonton. So that's why I'm cheering for the Panthers. I'm pointing at it, Darren, like you're looking at a map. You're welcome, like a weatherman up here in Edmonton versus down here in Florida. Nelson goes on to say, there's more here. David in Winnipeg says, David number 1 says, Winnipeg had 31,000 and change Friday night, and the 0-3 leads me to believe us fans still have faith in the Bombers. See, but that's, Darren talked about how the mindset, it didn't just start this year for Sask. It's the trail off of their last 2 losing seasons. Look at Winnipeg. We're all around. 30 straight years in between Grey Cups was probably the most depressed, repressed market fan base in all of sports, the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. All of a sudden, you flip it, and you win 2, and you're in 4 consecutive, and now you got faith in your team despite an 0-3 start. That's because the team won. That's what I want to have happen for Florida, because if they lose this Stanley Cup, it's going to be catastrophic for the fan base, for the franchise. That's what I think. Bill this annoys me a little bit. Patrolman Pete writes in, he says, Saskatchewan takes its cues from Big Brother Alberta. Alberta's tuned out on the CFL, so naturally Little Brother has to. LOL. I'm glad you put that LOL because you couldn't be more wrong. We don't take any cues from Alberta at all. You would almost wonder if we're neighbors. Manitoba's more Saskatchewan's neighbor. Alberta and Sask think totally different. We ain't related. Bill says the kicker fines are a big joke and a dumbass move. We don't have time to get into that, but just to let people mull this over, then we'll take a break. You saw this coming in week 1 of the CFL season, or was it week 2? Whatever week it was. I think it was week 1, wasn't it? The kickers were missing field goals, and they were complaining because the footballs had a microchip on it, and it was overloading one side and causing all this missed field goals. So after the first game, the kickers came out, they all bitched about it, and the league scrapped it right in the middle of the week, which you couldn't believe they would do. I said, oh, yeah, they will. They have in the past, and they did. They changed the rule. And then they come out and fine all the kickers for speaking out about it. That didn't look too good either. So I just let the fans mull that over, and we'll get back to that when we come back after this timeout. We're live on Game Plus Television. Julie Stewart-Binks is on the way from Sunrise in the Stanley Cup Final Game 7 tonight. We're on WQEE Radio in Atlanta. We're your southern home of sports and talk. WQEE 99.1 FM, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube.
Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902 518 3033.
We're all capable of doing more. More speed, more reps, more commitment to getting every detail perfect. And that's why it's important we never miss a donation appointment. Blood and plasma donors are needed every day in Canada to support thousands of patients that rely on Canada's lifeline. We're asking you to join the Hockey Gives Blood Partners for Life team. Join today by downloading the Give Blood app or book online at blood.ca/HGB.
The 80s Club, live in Moose Jaw. Honeymoon Suite, along with a flock of seagulls. Men without hats. Everybody's taking a chance. And spoons. All together for one night at Moose Jaw Event Center, Saturday, November 16th. Tickets on sale now at sastix.ca or the Moose Jaw Event Center box office.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
Send us your opinions now. We won't victimize you unless you really deserve it. Now, back to your host, Rod Pedersen.
RP Show continues on a Monday. It's episode number 1273 of the RP Show on this Monday, June 24th, in the year of our Lord, 2024. Game Plus TV, did I mention that? Key radio and streaming. Let's bring in the Moose. It's just, at least people know Moose. I think when they tune in here, they know what they're going to get. It's going to be hockey and football most days, and a little baseball, of course. And probably not any cricket. Sorry, guys. I just can't. It's not that I don't like it. I'm just not into it. And soccer, same thing. And I don't either understand either one. So kind of makes sense to me. 902-518-3033 is the number to text us here for Sober Carpenter non-alcoholic craft beers. Ask for them by name in your local beer, wine, and spirit store, 902-518-3033. We'll come back on the finding the kickers thing in a second, but I want to make this very clear because people very rarely ever say, sorry, Rod, or you're right. Like never. Honestly, last night, Serena said I was right on the IG Live just to get me to shut up. And that's a whole other topic. But I just believe that Gary Bettman, there's no anti-Canada agenda in the NHL. I don't. That would be dumb if there was. And what I'm saying is if the Oilers win tonight, which they very easily could, I think it's 50-50 chance, what are you going to say then, everybody? Brett in Saskatoon writes in, he says, I think the whole anti-Canada Gary Bettman rumor dispels if Edmonton wins. It's always great for the NHL financially to have a Canadian team in the Stanley Cup Finals. It's one thing to have them in. It's another to have them win. Big difference. And I'm saying I don't believe that there's an anti-Canada sentiment. It would be, they wouldn't do that. That's dumb. What I see, 4.2 million Americans watched Game 6. Game 7 tonight with nothing on against it? really. I mean, the Blue Jays are at Boston. We're not going to watch that. The NBA's done. There's no football. Like, Darren, this could be the most watched hockey game in cable television history, and it features the Oilers. You got to understand something. In America, they don't get into this. Canadian markets we won't want. They don't. It's all manufactured in Canadians' heads. Fact. Any more, or should I read this? You have any thoughts?
I'll be curious to see what will we push 10 million Canadians watching Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final? I don't know that's a pretty aggressive number. I don't know what the number is to expect. I think what did we see throughout the Cup? 3 to 4 million Canadians watching each of these games. So I'll be curious to see what Game 7 is. But everybody that I see is talking about it in and out of sports circles, not just my sports friends. Everybody's talking about it. I'm reading tweets and thoughts this morning from people on flights. Brett Kissel was on a Vancouver to Montreal flight, and Go Oilers, Go chants breaking out. Other flights, random, that they're just this Game 7 is kind of taking over. And I expect, at least the way it should go, Canada should shut down, and everybody should be watching Game 7 tonight because it's a pretty pivotal moment.
Well, I know we will be. Bomber Boy in Calgary writes in, and he says, when Winnipeg got the Jets back, I couldn't in good conscience believe the narrative that Bettman hates Canada. He doesn't. And I'm at a point in my life, I wish I'd known this years ago, although the older people were trying to tell me, just walk away, Rod. Now I just walk away. You're foolish if you think Gary Bettman hates Canada. Now, it's tough when it's your wife and you're in the same house, but at least go to another room. Greg in Calgary writes in and says, Toronto wants to be a big league city, but things look great in Montreal and BC. That's the thing. I don't know what's going on with the Argos. I don't really know. The crowd was pathetic. Obviously, it was a great game. I mean, that's the sucky thing. I mean, it's all marketing. End of story. They'll fill BMO to watch a 0-0 tie in soccer. 39-36, Argos win on a last-second field goal. There ain't any better entertainment than that. And nobody was there to watch it. It's all marketing, and as Darren says, the thing to do. And I'll say this again. I've never lived in Toronto. I don't want to live in Toronto. I'm not anti-Toronto. I like Florida. That's why I live there. Darren really likes Toronto. Maybe you, one day, will figure out how and why they think the way that they think. Because I don't get it, and we'll never get it. I'm not trying to get it. You know?
Yeah, I know. And it's different, Every city that I've been to across North America is slightly different. They have a different way of doing things. It's a different demographic, different cultures, and all the rest. And the biggest thing to understand is what works for one market and one city won't necessarily work for another. So what works in Toronto won't work in Regina, and what works in Vancouver isn't going to work in Edmonton. You need to be in tune with your audience, with your people, and find out what's going to work in your market, right? You can take tools from other markets, but you have to figure out what works in your market and your sport and then act accordingly.
Colin in Ottawa says that Gary hates Canada is such a dumb Canadian inferiority complex thing that has infected so many hockey fans in this country. That's like the NHL draft when they boo Bettman. People don't even remember what they're booing him for. They just boo him because it's the thing to do. You don't even know why you're booing him. So I'm just saying, if Edmonton were to win tonight, what are you going to say then? And nobody's got an answer for that. John Ohm says all attendance is down except maybe in BC, which we can go back around on that. But I'll say this. The other night, Miller's all showing up for a workout here today. The stands were packed. You probably saw my video where they have the Go Nuts for Donuts promotion where Michaela has a box full of Tim Hortons Timbits, like boxes of 10, and she runs through the crowd and just hucks them at people. And people are going nuts. They go nuts for donuts. Those stands are packed. They're in the community. They have player appearances with their players. They put in the work. And I don't see the CFL doing that, which furthermore, and I don't. You're going to be mad at me? Go ahead. I got big shoulders. I don't care. Bob in Saskatoon writes in, he says, the CFL kicker fines is a good idea for the CFL. The league needs media for any reason. So create controversy and talking points. If I could get up and walk away and not argue, I would, but I can't. I'm in this chair for at least 6 more minutes. So if you look like fools, that ain't good. Okay? Osama bin Laden, Donald Trump have made me rethink bad publicity is better than none. You know what I mean? I'm not comparing the CFL to Osama bin Laden and Donald Trump, but the Chad Kelly PR is not something anybody needs or wants. That did, I think, significant damage to the Canadian Football League. And you also got to understand something, everybody. The hardcore fans that get so upset when we question their fandom, we're not talking about you. We're talking about the people that don't go to the games. It's, you know, Serena gets all this guff from Panthers season ticket holders when they say they're bandwagon fans. Right? We're not talking to you. You had season tickets for 30 years. We're talking to the people that didn't go when the Panthers sucked for 20 years. Don't get so triggered. So between the Chad Kelly thing and then the CFL, just as well, we've explained it earlier. I would hope people, the CFL, find the kickers who spoke out about the microchip footballs. So they got rid of the microchip footballs by basically placating those kickers and I guess saying you're right, and then turned around and fined them. And we all drew the parallel of if you blew the whistle on what you thought was an unfair labor practice at your workplace and got your way, but then turned around and got punished for it, that would be horrible. And that's what happened in the CFL. That's what I think happened. Have I misread that? What do you see? What's your read on that?
It's tough because we see this in all sports. So a fine for coming out and being openly critical on social media or in the media, it's all the same now. Getting fined for that is not unprecedented. And that's and to be honest, I'll side with the league on the fact that it's not unwarranted either. You can't criticize the league officials publicly like that. You can't criticize officials publicly. We've seen it. Presidents was that in the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, MLB, you know, and the CFL. But where I think it gets really blurry and gray is that the kickers came out and said this. The league made a change like instantly. And then they're still getting fined for it. So they said, we acknowledge what you're saying. We're going to make a change because we think that you're onto something. Oh, but we're still going to fine you anyways because we can't have this happening again. Well, I don't. That's where I have a disagreement. You acknowledged a mistake, you know, you have to move on from that. I think the penalty in this situation is just way overblown.
Yeah, okay. So you said you sided with the league, but now you don't side with the league. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out where you're at.
Yeah. It's like it all hinges on them changing the rule. If they had thought there was nothing wrong and didn't change the rule, then yeah, fine them for speaking out because that's what you normally do. That's what every league does. But you changed the rule. You admitted that these kickers were right. And it led to you changing the rule, so there shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, so just
but
take
now
it.
You want to fine them.
Take it in the pills. Take it in the pills. Take a knee, CFL. You got this one wrong, and you said the kickers were right. That's what I think they should do, but it never used to be that way. I'm with you where you say the precedent has been set. You can't criticize the league or you get fined or punished or whatever, but it never used to be that way. That's the way it is now, and that's why I can't work in it. At least certain leagues, because I said on Thursday or Friday, I said my dad raised me to always do the right thing. Your word is the last thing you have left. Once it's gone, you got nothing. Morning, Bobby. Bobby Biceps reporting for work. And be your own man. And you can't do that in sports these days. So I can't. It's wrong. It's just wrong. You know, this is my read. You know, somebody was saying the other day, it looks so wrong that Sean Lemon's able to play while he's appealing his suspension for betting on games, which I think was a lifetime suspension, was it not? And this is what I think happened. They were investigating Sean Lemon. This is what I think happened on that. They were investigating him. He got wind of the investigation. He says, I'm going to retire. He's been in the league a long time. He's won 3 Grey Cups. I'll retire and walk away. And I feel like the CFL said, no, we're going to make an example out of you. We have proof that you bet on games. So then after his retirement, they come out with this big statement saying he's been suspended forever. And he's like, yeah? Well, I'm on retiring, and I'm going to appeal your suspension, and I'm going to play. That's just in my own head. That's what I see happen. And now they look bad again. If they just said, you know what, we'll drop it. You've retired. Let's just forget it. But they didn't want to do that. I have no inside information, but does it not look like that?
Yeah. I mean, for sure, it's how it looks and comes across. A player retires because this is coming, and, okay, I'm going to get banned. And instead of tarnishing my legacy, I'll just step aside and kind of a backroom deal or whatever. And that happens, I think more often than we all know about. But when it's now, okay, my name's going to get dragged through the mud, well, I can appeal this and play. And now he is. And it's really opened up a big mess for the league because these gambling allegations are very serious. And now, a player can appeal this. There should be no appealing, something of this magnitude if there's proof and all the rest. So the league's in a really tough spot now on how they handle this, because when it's the first of its kind, you're setting now, however this unfolds, you're setting a precedent for the next case. And the next case and the next case.
I'm sorry, Darren. Our star left fielder, Robert Estrada, has shown up. I always practice my Espanol on him. All the Millers are reporting for duty, but I was listening. And I think when we talk about unsold seats and tickets, it's the image problem. And I've just ignored, I try and ignore it every day and talk football, but they keep stepping in it. We'll finish this up in overtime. We're going to the Stanley Cup Game 7 with Julie Stewart-Binks right after this. Thanks, Moose.
You bet. See ya.
We are live from the Golden Ticket Sports Center on Game Plus Television, WQEE Radio, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube Live.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience, in the seats or streaming to you.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Did you know that you can help save a life? And you can start right now.
Stem cells from male donors increase chances of positive outcomes for patients, yet they only make up 40% of our registry.
Today, there are hundreds of people in Canada searching for their life-saving match.
You can be a patient's best hope. Be a hero by registering with Canadian Blood Services Stem Cell Registry now.
I'm Bridget Lacquette. I'm a First Nation Olympic silver medalist, and I'm proud to represent Indigenous hockey players across Canada. Each year, hundreds of Canadians need a stem cell transplant from an unrelated donor to save their life. Anyone can have a hard time finding a stem cell match, but for Indigenous peoples, it can be even more difficult because just over 1% of prospective donors on Canada's stem cell registry are of Indigenous backgrounds. Be a hero. Join me in Hockey Gives Blood in helping to make a life-saving difference to those in need. Register today at blood.ca/beahero.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Business owners and marketers. Okay, we know you think we're pretty cool. That's why we want you to share in the coolness factor. Partner with the Rod Pedersen Show and market your business every weekday to sports lovers just like yourself. Take advantage of our many cost-effective commercial and promotional opportunities. Tell the world about your business. Yes, the world. Thanks to Game Plus TV and the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. Contact us today and find out how you can be a part of Canada's fastest-growing sports talk show, The Rod Pedersen Show.
Oh, yeah, he's back. Time for more of the Rod Pedersen Show.
Welcome back, everybody. Historic day in sports for sure in the National Hockey League. Game 7 tonight, and we're going live there now. Sunrise, Florida. Julie Stewart-Binks joining us. JSB, thanks for the time. She's back in her hotel room. I appreciate it. So who are you working for tonight? The National Hockey League. What's got you down in South Florida, gal?
Well, it is great to be here, Rod. Thank you for having me. I literally just ran in here right now because, as you mentioned, I was just over watching the Oilers practice, and I'm here working with the Mark Messier's company, Game 7. And it's pretty appropriate right now. Game 7, Mark Messier was part of the last Oilers team to hoist the cup. And it is... it's a great feeling to be kind of a part of all this and see just the emotion of the fans and the players, and all the different intricacies of I don't know how to describe it, but it really is the emotions and how everything is so elevated at this point. Like, you have goosebumps as a hockey fan. I interviewed a ton of fans at the bar last night, which was, a great task, as you, I'm sure, are aware of. And the Oilers fans were off the charts excited, and just, you could feel almost like the weight of an entire country with them, and like that belief and the whole Ted Lasso believe sign and all that. But everyone was just having a great time. And I know I'm like really answering a lot of questions in this one first question, Rod, but talking with the Panthers fans, they felt like Leafs fans, honestly. You could have literally inserted a Leafs fan as the Panthers fan, because a bunch of them were just like, I don't even want to watch the game on Monday night, because they are just in complete shock about what's happened. They are stressing out. You can kind of feel that from most of the Florida fans here. My Uber driver now is just like, I don't know what's gone on. He's like, I'm shocked. And I was like, well, I can give you some stats, about what's happened, kind of, really. But he's like, I don't think they have any confidence. I'm like, that's definitely something that you can feel, especially when the best goaltender, arguably, in the playoffs in a lot of situations. I mean, Igor was obviously very good, and Stuart Skinner's been incredible. But they've solved Bobrovsky, and they've been able to use their speed, and their special teams have been great. And it feels it feels like it's the Oilers' time.
Wow. Okay. Well, you landed the plane on a really. There you go. I was going to ask the vibe. You've rolled it all into one. No. You answered it all. It was fantastic. I don't really know what to ask you now, other than what was the deal on your Lyft driver yesterday, the guy with the Canada hat. You got to tell me about that.
Oh my gosh, that was so wonderful. When I saw him, I was like, I know what you're doing, because you're picking up people from the airport, probably, or taking people around that probably don't live here, meaning they are likely Oilers fans or fans of Canada. But then I was thinking, why doesn't he have an Oilers hat on if he was supporting that? And he said he didn't find an Oilers hat in South Florida, which I very much understand. So I think it's a great move by him, supporting Canada. I think in many ways, great country. And then also just, you never know who's going to sit in that car and be from Edmonton and potentially tip you well.
It's business. It's business. By the way, Mandy in Edmonton writes in and she says, now Julie is the real deal, smart and beautiful. And I can vouch that she is indeed the real deal. So there you go, JSB. So you talk about the vibe
Mandy.
in town.
I'll send you some money for that.
What was the vibe in the rink this morning? You said you saw the Oilers practice. What about, did you see the Panthers skate or what's up there?
No, Panthers were at their practice facility, and then which felt, mostly you would have both teams at the same facility on the day of game. At least like in what I've covered, Panthers might be different with that. So it was just the Oilers there, and I thought someone was just going to walk in. There was just the Oilers there, and so I don't know how the Panthers necessarily felt, but everyone with the Oilers felt, it was optional. Connor McDavid was on the ice. Stuart Skinner was on the ice. I followed Connor McDavid walking out. Like, I was just filming him. I had to run real fast because he was definitely not wanting to be videoed. So, but I've been working really hard, so I was able to get him. But they all seem to just really, pure excitement and joy about being in this situation. And I think like there's a lot of gravity around being in this situation, and then adding in the Canadian aspect of it. And there are some fan bases that aren't happy in Canada that the Oilers are here. But for the most part, it really does feel, it's kind of like when the Raptors were in the NBA finals, and it was like a whole country was behind them. Whereas like, I don't think everyone in the USA is behind the Florida Panthers in that regard. So I think that they understand what is at stake, and that actually has the vibes, it feels like that's positive for them. That could crush a lot of other teams and people, but I think especially for Connor, Leon Draisaitl, a lot of Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, a lot of these guys, it's like, okay, we finally got to this moment. Now we have a chance to do what we've been trying to do for so long, and having all this, sometimes the negativity around the Oilers with all their first round picks and all that kind of stuff. It's like, we're here. Let's just send it home, tap it in, send that ball home, and get that cup hoisted over your head.
Wayne in Victoria, BC says, what a great answer, Julie. You are so knowledgeable. So there you go. And that's the thing.
Thank you,
JSB.
Wayne.
You and I go back a long ways, so you know that you can say whatever you want on this program. You'll always. I know that you're legit, and I know that you know the game. You played hockey, so let me ask you this: tonight in a one-game showdown, is it just a hockey game, and the normal things will decide the game, or is there more to it in terms of it's Game 7 of the Stanley Cup? Is it a bigger deal than just a hockey game? Like, what do you think?
Well, first, Rod, I still play hockey. In New York.
Oh,
I play in a
nice.
men's league, but I got a concussion, so I stopped for a bit.
Oh, no.
Secondly, I don't think, I know Paul Maurice was saying, it's one game. It's like, it's just energy. Everything goes out the window. But oddly enough, this series has been like, the momentum has continued through the games, minus that game 3 to game 4. They always say momentum doesn't shift game to game, it just shifts within games. But it feels like everything is in Edmonton's favor. But that being said, if Florida scores first, I feel like all of that could just go instantly away. And they could, right? But I feel as though once okay, this is a great thing that I keep whenever I have imposter syndrome or anything like that. It's a quote from Harry Potter. It's like, he's like, I know I could do it because I've done it before. So once you know that you've done something, you're like, well, why would I be nervous? Why would I be scared? We've beaten Bobrovsky. We know we can score on the power play. We know our big guys can step up. We know that we have depth scoring. And I think that like just all that kind of energy, there's so many fans down here too. The Elbow Room, which is an incredible bar, is a Panthers bar, it says outside. It was all Oilers fans last night. And I mean like banana sandwich crazy Oilers fans that were down here. And I was thinking, like, just everyone decided didn't matter how much it cost. As soon as they won, they're like, we're going down there. And they should. Like, that's the stuff you save your money for, is like moments like this. So I think it is bigger than one game. you can't forget the past that quickly. I know you can try, but the rest, it's in there.
They're going to have to forget it. The Panthers are going to have to forget it. And by the way, I've seen the photos from the elbow room right at the corner of Los Alamos Boulevard and the A1A. I'm like, I don't want to be there. There was a time in my life I would have wanted to be there. I'm glad I'm not there. JSB can handle it from here on in. It's very evident, by the way, who you're cheering for. So everything you just said, I'll flip it on the Oilers side.
I'm not cheering for anybody. I'm cheering for I usually would cheer for no overtime. However, I would love to see Game 7 Stanley Cup Final overtime.
Well, you've reported that the vibe is all Oilers, and you've, I think, picked the Oilers. But for the Panthers, they got to forget the past. And they got to say, we beat these guys 3 straight games. Bob needs to say, all I got to do is stop the puck. Just that they got to be saying all the same things you just said, but from a Florida perspective. So,
and
listen,
Paul Maurice
you have fun
will
tonight.
do that.
Well, he's going to try. Yeah. I mean, why do you think this series got this far? We'll end it on this. How do you think it got into this position? They were up 3-0, Julie. They shouldn't even be playing now. It should be over, in my mind.
Honestly, I think Bobrovsky has been really good, but I think a lot of the defense in front of him maybe kind of covered up some of the deficiencies when the Oilers were able to, find their speed, being able to connect on a lot of their passes, being able to finish their chances. When you just get that one in top shelf on Bobrovsky and you start to remember this guy isn't a god, like he's been also playing a lot of hockey, and he's played a lot of hockey last year, and this entire team has too. And you saw what they did to the Rangers and what they've done to every single team in the playoffs, and then you are able to do that to them. It's like, hey, remember what we've gone through this season? We were like, as the Oilers, we weren't even in the playoff position come Thanksgiving, when that's when you're deemed if you're going to be in it or not, and you're able to you dragged everyone here. You clawed your way out of the gutter. And so I think it's just the hard part is I love Paul Maurice's speeches. I love that vibe in the room. And it's amazing with hockey how if that another team can show that they can do it, then everything changes to them in that moment. And that's what's so great. I just hope it's a good game. I don't want to see any blowouts. And the cool part is that we know the cup will be awarded tonight, and that's a great feeling.
A blowout would be a letdown for sure. I think we're all hoping for a 1-goal game. Julie, thanks for fitting us in. It's awesome that you're there and working for Mess. Have fun, and hope to see you this summer.
Thank you, Rod. Always love being on here, so appreciate it.
Our longtime friend, Julie Stewart-Binks, JSB, from Game 7. Mark Messier's Game 7 as well. We'll be back with Overtime right after this on Game Plus Television, Key Radio, Apple Podcasts, YouTube Live, and Spotify.
IKS Game Day wishes to congratulate the city of Estevan and Affinity Place on their brand new center ice display. This state-of-the-art score clock features 5 LED faces with full motion graphics, scoring integration, and our new Halo mounting system. If it's time for an upgrade, let us show you how to deliver the best fan experience. You can find us at iksgameday.com.
The live sports experience is changing. Teams and facilities are under pressure to provide online and in-venue entertainment. IKS Live has the right team to deliver. We provide service across North America and produce the best fan experience in the seats or streaming to you.
Hi, my name is Logan Stankoven.
And I'm Connor Bedard.
We're both Hockey Gives Blood player ambassadors and proud to be blood donors.
There are thousands of patients each year in Canada that rely on a generous stranger to save their life.
Please book an appointment today to donate blood at blood.ca/HGB.
Text 902-518-3033. 902-518-3033. Pick up your phone and text RP, that's Rod Pedersen. Text 902-518-3033.
Here's how your business can be a part of Canada's fastest growing sports talk show. All you have to do is contact us, and we will tell you all about the dynamic and exciting marketing opportunities we have, utilizing a fully integrated 360-degree multi-platform. Imagine your business seen and heard across Canada on Game Plus TV and around the world on the Rod Pedersen Digital Network. You will use one of the most overused expressions in sports. You gotta be kidding me. Get your business involved. Contact the Rod Pedersen Show today.
You got something to say? You want to add to the show? What are you waiting for? Don't just sit there. Say something. Now, back to the studio with Rod.
Okay, the studio is the beautiful Golden Ticket Sports Center. And if there is an English teacher out there or a former English teacher out there, can you tell me what's the proper, write in 902-518-3033. What's the proper way to say it's a historic day in the National Hockey League in sports, or an historic day? Either way, it's a biggie. And we've got breaking news out of Sunrise, Florida. The report I'm getting is that Roberto Luongo is scheduled to bang the drum tonight ahead of Game 7, which I know might not be a big thing to you all, but it is to the Panthers fans. Last game, it was Jack Nicklaus, and he set the tone like a... Bobby Lou will be banging the drum tonight for Game 7. That's a big deal. Franchise wins leader among goaltenders, obviously. Roberto Luongo, Game 7. Oh. From the poll today is Game 7 tonight, the biggest game in NHL history. 55% of you saying yes, it is. I wish I could be there, but history will not remember that I wasn't there. I am envious of those that will. There are other sports apparently going on. The struggling Toronto Blue Jays carry a 6-game losing streak into Fenway Park today, where they will start a 3-game set with the Red Sox. Jays have won just 2 of their last 10 and have been swept in consecutive series in Cleveland and at home to Boston. I was thinking about this the other day when our guy Mike Wilner said, "What's firing anybody going to do?" I'm like, well, you fired Charlie Montoyo a couple years ago mid-season, and they rallied and got into the playoffs. But whatever, what do I know? I'm just a baseball announcer now. Toronto is now 6.5 games back of an American League wild card spot. Otherwise, there's no games in the WCBL tonight, no games in the CEBL tonight, just Game 7 in the NHL. That's it. We're all going to be watching. Sports Update is for Landmark Cinemas. It's Seniors Day Monday. Get more of the movies you love every Monday for less. Seniors enjoy 20% off the posted seniors admission price, and to sweeten the deal, receive 20% off at the concessions as well. So make Mondays your movie day, because a great deal never gets old. Check your favorite landmark cinemas for showtimes and pricing. Also for EMJ Marketing, transform your audience with powerful presentations from EMJ's marketing elite speakers. Check out their website for more information, emjmarketing.com. And again, we're also brought to you by the Saskatchewan Rattlers Professional Basketball League team from the CEBL. They are home on Saturday night to the Niagara River Lions. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster or head on down to the Rattlers front office in downtown Saskatoon. Nelson, if you are to be believed, and I have no reason to think that you're not, he says it's a historic day in the NHL. And is used when the next starts with a vowel. I'm not sure you're right. Oh, you guys are English experts. Well, I'm going to go look it up. Listen, I've written 3 books. I got an idea. It's okay, how do you explain an hour? An hour. We'll see you in an hour. It starts with an H, so it should be a hour. We'll see you in a hour. We're not giving up on this. I feel like I'm not getting good advice from Nelson and producer Clark. That's what I'm saying. Thanks, guys. Robert writes in from Vegas. He says the CFL botched the chip ball issue. The kickers were right. In 2022, USFL kickers won 3 for 10 on field goals with chip balls to start the season. Kickers were allowed to opt out after week 1. It's an embarrassment for the CFL. That's all. They got to stop embarrassing themselves. Thanks, JSB. Thanks, Scotty Laughlin. We love the guest. Thanks, Clark. We'll see you all tomorrow right here.
Who has more fun than us?